What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of MMA DFS for Beginners. This is your host, Jesse. It's been a long layoff, about a month. We went through the winter of UFC, but we're back, and I'm excited to be back because we have a card finally. Yeah. Kind of shitty card, but we have a card nonetheless, so nothing to complain about. And with that, there's opportunity to make that cizash. And so I'm going to be talking about mostly the macro of this. Macro meaning like the big picture of what's going on here. There's tons of channels and videos of the micro. The micro, not so meaning micro meaning like the little things, like the actual matchups. Plenty of channels. Highly recommend Kunith MMA, John Kelly, what's it called, the Roto Grinders, that you have to pay for that one. The one I use, jeez, I'm already forgetting which one do I use. The Osimo. It's not called Stochastic. Yeah, the Stochastic. There's free ones, tons of them. So I'll post a link to that to help you guys out with that. So let's get this started. This micro way of looking at this. So first thing is contest selection. So I'm gonna be playing in 3 types of contests that are gonna make for 3 different types of lineup. The first one are 50 double ups and head-to-heads. So the first thing you want to do with that is look at what they call soft contests, meaning it's easier to win. You don't want to be playing against sharks. That's the first thing, because again, we're here to make money, right? We're here to do it. We're here to make that cash and have fun. We can do both. You can have your cake and eat it. So with double ups, this is a little more difficult to find the softer games, but I'll look at contests that will have more entries, because with more entries, that tends to have more fish, is what we call them. Fish meaning newbies. So like we can look at the 57 guaranteed, and fish, you want to look at, first of all, you want to see people that you don't recognize, and this will all come with experience. Speaking of experience, you want to look at ones that don't really have experience badges. Looks like there's a bunch of experience badges in this one, so you do want to spend time looking for them here. Hopefully I'll find one. I was finding earlier a couple, but now how did I do it? So you go entry, so like these 229 right here, this will probably be a good one. Yeah, you see there's no there's some people here with no badges, or if they do have badges, they don't have the full on 3 stripe, or what's the full badge? It's like 2 stripes and 2 lines, right? Some of them are missing a line, some of them are missing a badge, and if you want to know about that, there's an explanation here. Basically, this is like the beginner. It's 500 contests, 1,000 contests. They have a big win. They have a 500 plus a big win, 1,000 plus a big win. So these are the ones you want to avoid right here. You want to avoid these. Ultimately, you wouldn't want them have them no badge like this one, or have one stripe like this. It's not too bad. So just looking at this, so seeing that there's people with no badges in here, you could go ahead and enter that double up. Head to head, it's a little easier to find. They do tend to lay in low stakes, because those sharks want to make that money, so they tend to go to the higher stakes. So like this $1 head to head, there's 56 contests available. Look for one that doesn't have a badge, and right here we have a blank skater, and just get to know him. If he's pretty good, you'll see it by the way he makes his lineup. If he makes like a GPP lineup for the head to head, then you want to keep playing him and keep challenging him. So I'll challenge him, play him. Let's reserve this one right here. Play this fool. If he's smart, he'll listen to this channel and start beating me, because he knows what I'm doing. Scouting. All right, I'll reserve that. Let's actually start with that. Our cash lineup, right? We'll start. So we're gonna build a cash lineup. We're gonna build a small to medium GPP lineup, and then we're gonna build a large single entry GPP lineup. I'll tell you why I like single entries for the large field, but let's start with our cash. Our cash game. Cash game, you want to eat all the chalk. You just want value. Cash. I'm gonna relate this to poker because I'm also learning how to play poker, and I've been playing for a little bit now. So in poker, there's two ways of playing. Super generalizing this. So there's exploitative play, and game theory optimal, what they call. Exploitative, meaning you want to attack weaknesses in your opponent. So that's more like GPP. You want to attack people that either have too much ownership, or have too much projection and just ignore the ownership. You want to play the opposite of what they're doing. As far as cash games and 50-50, or just cash games, as far as those are concerned, you just want to play the safest play and allow your opponent just to make mistakes. If that makes sense. Just do you and hope that the opponent makes mistakes, which people tend to make mistakes. So we bank on that. So we're just going to play the most optimal play here. So we're looking all for value. All for value here. So the value plays here are Argueta, right? Because there was a dropout. His opponent dropped out previously. Now he has an easier opponent, and his win percentage is at 86%. And his inside the distance is at 62%. So that's pretty crazy. He's only priced at 8,600. That's very good pricing. This is from Stochastic. His percentage of getting in the top 6 is at 41. Just the numbers look great. So we'll start there. We'll start with the Argueta. I like to sort by salary. Argueta. We'll start there. The next value play would be looking at this would be Strickland, right? He's super, and the value plays tend to be very highly owned because everybody wants to play them, but we don't care about that. Strickland, it's a good value play because his win percentage is pretty damn good at 50%, and his pricing is only 7,700. Actually, this cash lineup we're gonna stack. We're going to stack, so it doesn't matter. Cash games, it's always a good idea to stack, and I will explain that in a little bit. So Imovov and Strickland, right? Those two bad boys. So Lisa's, we do want one punt play. We want one punt play because in cash games, we can afford to lose 2 fights. That's the general line. You want to win 4 fights or more. And you have a good chance to win your cash. So as far as punts, I'm looking at these down here. By the way, these lines are separating the pricing groups. Like these are all priced. I divided them by as evenly as I can, and these are basically price tiers. So the lowest price tiers is we have these 4 down here, and these are the punt plays I'm looking at. And what I look at is the ones that are least likely to get finished. So inside the distance odds, we're looking at Barcelos and Hernandez at 120 and 175. So I'll look at their opponent and one that's the least likely to finish their opponent. So we have Nurmagomedov, and man, I said that pretty well. I usually struggle saying that. Nurmagomedov. I jinxed myself. I just have to stop thinking about it. Have to stop thinking in general. Man, I'm feeling claustrophobic. I changed scenarios in case you guys are wondering, and I am not being held hostage. I promise. These are for audio purposes. Before I was in my living room, which was pretty empty and lots of echoes, but here I am in my room, and it's less echoey in here. So, anyways, back on task. Focus. Nascimento, which is at 140, right? So we're gonna go with Barcelos, right? That's gonna be our punt play. We don't expect him to win, but it'll be nice if the fight doesn't get finished, because he can accumulate points. And any points at this point, the points still matters. Anything you give me is good. And the more likely that they're get finished, the less points that they're going to accumulate. Duh. So down here, we're not looking for wins. We're looking for points. So we'll go Barcelos, and that leaves us at 9,000 average to spend. So we can spend up pretty well. We can go Johnson because he has great win odds, right? He's at a 78% win odds, 56% inside of the distance. I like Johnson as well. I have too many of them open. I keep clicking other ones. So Johnson, and then we might go Nacimiento. Yeah, we want to spend. We don't care about spending out like cash. So we could go Nacimiento. And boom, that's your lineup right there. So we have Nacimiento. So this is the structure of the lineup. Nacimiento, Johnson, Argueta are like locks. We call them our locks because they're all 2-1 favorites or above. Pretty good favorites on there as far as percentages. Barcelos is our pump play. We don't expect him to win, but we do want to get some points out of all the losers down there, and then just stack the main event. In the case that something goes wrong, one of these three guys lose, I am gonna because now we're banking on Barcelos to win, right? Which isn't a good strategy because there is gonna be a loser here, and we can't have three losers. So if one of these three locks lose, we pivot away from Barcelos, and we want to save some cash. So we're gonna hope Strickland wins, right? Or even if he loses, he scores high. But we do want to win from Strickland. That's what we're banking on. Again, we're getting a little more volatile here because it's not going as planned. So we can utilize late swap, and let's get more win equity. So we have 7,800 available. So we can go somewhere like, I know Jackson and Ige is basically a coin flip. So we can improve to Jackson. And Kopilov. I think that's all we're able to, right? Can we improve on the Jackson? Ribeiro. We got to go Kopilov and Jackson or Ribeiro. Either one. Whatever floats your boat. So, we got to get a win. So then in this case, say Argueta loses for some reason. In this case, we're going to need 2 out of 3 winners from Kopilov, Jackson, and Strickland. 2 of these 3 guys, assuming these 2 win. If 2 of your 3 locks lose, you're going to be in deep shit because then you're going to need all 3 of these guys to win. So, but hopefully the worst case scenario, 1 of your locks loses. You shift the end of your lineup, and you hope that 2 of these 3 guys win. All right. So that's what the I should have just submitted it, but let's not do that. I'll submit that later. So next is our GPPs, right? So we go search for the right GPP. Again, we're gonna let's go to the extreme. Let's go to the larger field. I don't play too large of a field because those are your wins are takes longer to get realized. Like they're too volatile. I used to play them, but now with late swap, I tend to stay away from them. So tournaments, I'm looking for single entry because single entries tend to be more chalky because you can only when somebody can only submit one lineup, they want to submit their best lineup, and your best lineups will tend to have the best players. So you take people tend to take less risks. So now we're gonna go to exploitative play. And exploitative play, this is our assumption. We'll study this. We'll look back and look at the CSVs when the contests are over. But the hypothesis here, our thinking here with these single entries, are people are gonna tend to be more chalky. So go more for projection and less for ownership. So what we're gonna do is do the opposite of that. Go more lower projection and higher. Lower ownership and lower projection, right? Because those two are relatable to each other. The higher the projected the fighter, which in MMA is their chances of winning betting odds and their inside the distance odds, their upside, those tend to be higher own and salary too, as we'll see right now. So I'm gonna go into this. I looked at this previously already. These two, I'm looking at these. The 7.5 clinch and the 1K daily dollar, the single entries, and it looks like this one's more softer and it's a bit smaller. It's actually pretty good size difference in size. So we'll go with the daily dollar, the 1K. We'll enter this. And you can see we have people without badges here, so it's all good. I don't think sharks are wasting their time with these with this small time betting. So we're gonna draft. And all right, so let's get started with this one. What this is gonna be different. So it's gonna be the other extreme. It doesn't have to be too. We don't have to be too contrarian because it's not like the larger fields are like 23K. So those are super large. This one's what 1,800 or something like that. Where are we at? 1,189. So it's not too bad. It's not too big. So we don't have to get super contrarian, but we do want to get contrarian because it is single entry and people are going to tend to play their best fighters. So right off the bat, I'm gonna be fading the top two guys right here because they're projected to be at 44 and 46%, and people are going to be playing the popular fighters, which these I think are going to be the super popular fighters. So we're going to build around Johnson. We're going to build a pay up for Johnson. I have this value score here. This is based off of their projection, ownership, and their percentage of being in the top 6. So Johnson and Nascimento scored well. Scored basically the same. So I'm going to go with Johnson. We'll start off with Johnson. As you can see, Johnson is going to be heavily utilized in these games, in this slate. Another one is Arguero. He is chalky. I'm going to tell you guys in a little bit how we're going to get different. There's various ways of getting different, but his value is just too good here at 85% win percentage, and is inside the distance at 61%. At 8,600 is just too good to pass up. So we'll eat this chalk. We'll eat the Argueta chalk. Where we're gonna get different is so this fight here is pretty big. Fight number 6 with Abdul and Ribeiro. It's basically a coin flip. Ribeiro is actually the slight favorite, but it's the inside the distance is the highest by pretty big margin of the whole slate. So the optimal fighter, there's a really good chance it's going to come from here. So with that said, the only thing that makes these two guys different, because the numbers are pretty much the same, they're virtually identical, is a price point, right? So when two things are virtually identical, people are going to tend to pay for the cheaper one to save salary, but not us. We're looking to get different. This is one way we're getting different. And the ownership, we can see that Abdul is at 26%, Ribeiro is at 31%. So we're saving 5% on ownership. So that's one way we're getting different. Second way we're getting different is we're going to go after Kopylov. He's pretty low owned at 15%. And he scores well right here, 85%. So this is where we're going getting different here. We're picking a 15% owned fighter. That's pretty low. And his win percentage isn't too bad considering that ownership. And you can see he's scoring very well on this value column. So we'll go Kopylov. So we're going to eat Argueta Chalk, Abdul, Kopylov, and then we have 2 more slates to go, 8200. So this case, we could, we're going to eat the Strickland Chalk, believe it or not. I know Strickland, I know that's tough, but it's just this Argueta and Strickland is just too hard to pass up. That value there is just too hard to pass up. That's why we're getting different. We're fading the 2 top dogs, Usman and how do you say his name? Rebecki. We're fading these 2. They're great numbers, by the way. I think Nurmagomedov, it's more of the name is gonna make him popular, but Rebecki, it's like that 70 highest percentage of defeating his opponent. We're just hoping and praying that this goes well. This doesn't happen. That's why we're doing this GPP. We're exploitative. We're assuming that everybody's picking these two. So if these 2 fail, we're in a very good position. So our last pick we have at 8,700. We have some options we can play with. We can go with another low own fight, which is Vieira and Pennington. It's not predicted to go points to be very high because the inside of the distance is pretty cheap. Their top 6 percentage sucks. So I think we've gone pretty different. If we do, so this is a decision you want to make. We could go Dan Ige. His ownership is pretty low. It's 23%. It's not too bad. But his top 6 is at 24%. It's pretty good. He scores higher at 68. If you want to get more different, you go Vieira or Pennington. But if you want to secure more points, more upside, you go for Ige. So that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go Ige. So that's about it. That's about the large field, the large, quote-unquote large field. We'll call it medium-sized field. Single entry is what makes it more of like a larger field because for the sake of chalk, how chalk is concerned. So again, just to recap this one, the way we're getting different, we're eating the chalk of Strickland and Argueta. Those are the chalk we're eating. I don't think there's any way to get around chalk, and it's not too bad to get eat chalk. If it's a super big sized GPP, and then I guess you want to go like super contrarian, but that's not my style of play. I'll probably make a video on the different styles of plays and what you expect, the outcomes you expect. So we're gonna eat this chalk. We're gonna get different by fading Usman and Rebecki, and we'll go with Johnson instead. We're gonna not go with Ribeiro, and we're gonna go with Abdul. We're gonna pay up for him. He's gonna be low owned because of that. Kopylov is going to be our underdog that we're taking a shot at. He's low owned at 15%, and he's the underdog. This is the shot we're taking here. And then finally, Ige. Ige is a 50-50 toss-up, and, this is the volatility right here. Kopylov, Abdul, and Ige. That's where we're getting different. So that's for the medium to larger field. And then finally, we create a lineup for the small field. And with this small field lineup, we're going to utilize a late swap. That medium field late swap is I didn't take that into consideration at all. But now I'm going to take into consideration late swap here. And the small field you want to look at. I look at ones that are less than 1,000 people entries. I don't like these satellites. That's just something else. But let's see, entries. There's one that was like, where are we? It was the sprawls. Where are the sprawls? All right, here. These two, really similar. I might end up going with this one, the 549 sprawl. And in this case, you want to utilize late swap. So the plan of attack here is, where are we going to take our shot? That's the first thing to consider. Where are you going to take your shot? You're going to pick an underdog to take a shot at, and we're gonna keep it at Kopylov. So he's and you want your shots to be later on in the fight, because if you build your lineup and it's not going well, there's no point of taking your shot. You just want to min cash. You just want to cash out. And to cash out, you're basically building a cash lineup just to get the minimum cash. You'll go for, so you look at the payouts. If you're not going for like these top 5 spots, if you're not trying to land this, you're trying to land this right here, and you're trying to end up right here. You're trying to get $6 back. If you're not going for 60 to 200, you're going for here. This is your aim. Those are the two type of prizes you're going after. So if it's not going well, you're gonna go for that $6 cash out, and you just want to pick Kopylov. In this case, you just move up and pick a less volatile fight and more win equity. So Kopylov is the shot we're taking, right? So Kopylov. And again, I picked him because he's low owned, and he's fighting later on in the card. So there's time to pivot off of him if we need to. If he was the first fight on the card, I would not pick him, because if he lost, there would be no point of picking him, because if he wins, so he's our shot, right? And the rest is gonna be semi chalky. If he wins, you want your rest of your lineup to be semi-chalky because you want to play it safe. If he loses, you want the rest of your lineup to be semi-chalky because now you're playing for the minimum cash. So having him fight early in the fight card is gonna take away your edge for utilizing late swap. So early in our fights, we want to pick fights that are like 50-50, the ones that are like in the fence. So the way we're going to construct this small field GPP utilizing late swap is, early on we want our coin flips. This is what we call our coin flips, the ones that are like 50-50. Our locks, it doesn't really matter where they're at because we're banking on them to win. And then our shot is going to be taken late in the card, because if our 50-50s, if something fails in there, we're just gonna move up from Kopylov to another 50-50 instead of underdog. We'll have another 50-50. Let me show you by example. So again, we're going with Johnson. I like where he's at, and we'll use this value, because we are taking consideration to ownership too, but more the fight. Johnson's gonna be the first fight on the card. And now we're looking at Abdul and Ribeiro. That's gonna be a deciding factor for what happens. Argueta, we're gonna stick with Argueta. So if we need to save money, so right now I'm gonna go with Abdul. I don't mind going to Ribeiro, but let's see how our lineup is gonna shake up. We might have to go to Ribeiro just to save money. I'm gonna go with Strickland. With the small field GPPs, I do like going with having my hand in the main event, because it gives us flexibility to move around, because they are the last fight. The fights later on the card tend to be more valuable in this if you're using late swap, because you're knowing more information and you're more flexible. So Kopylov, Argueta, Abdul, Strickland, and then we have 8,700. With that, we can go with like an Ige. We go with an Ige. Right, I'm liking this lineup here. So looking at the order of the fights, this is going to be the pivotal point, because we're assuming Argueta and Johnson win, right? 2. And then we have the other 2 is Abdul. Who was the other person we picked? Abdul and Ige. Where did we go? Ige. Yeah, Abdul and Ige are like our toss-ups, right? It sucks to have Ige late on the fight card, so we might not go with Ige. We can possibly... Can we go Ribeiro and then go up to Nascimento? That might be an option. So this is the way I'm thinking when I'm doing small fields. Yeah, that'll give us just enough for nacimiento. So that might be a better way of approaching it. Because nacimiento is basically a lock. We're going from a toss-up to a lock. It is a little more chalky, but again, we're playing a small field GPP. And the way we're getting different is we're taking a shot at Kopylov and fading Usman and Umar and Rebecca. So in this case right here, having this lineup, Ribeiro, if he wins, we keep Kopylov, but if he loses, we're gonna have to move off of Kopylov and Strickland. As much as it hurts us to do that, because now we're no longer playing for assuming these two win, and then Ribeiro loses. There's no point of going after Kopylov. So, so we had Kopylov, Strickland, and who was the third one? Kopylov, Strickland, and forget who it was. Oh, Nacimiento. So we're at 7,700. So we go more into the middle. We can go. Jackson is a toss-up. And then actually we might have to stay with Kopylov. Yeah, there will be this is tough. It's tougher to use late swap when it's such a small fight card. So we might have to move off of Nacimiento just to free up some flexibility and go down to Ige, right? We can play this and then say Ribeiro loses. If Ribeiro loses, we have time to swap out Ige, Kopylov, Strickland, and then we can go like we go Soriano instead. We go to Jackson. Remember, Jackson and Ige is a coin flip. And then Vieira, Jackson, and Soriano instead of Ige, Strickland, and Kopylov. That might be the better way to go about it because it's more low variance. Vieira's not going to be finished. Jackson, it's a toss-up between him and Ige. And Soriano's a good favorite over Kopylov. So that's a way of going about it too with small field GPPs. I'm gonna end it right there. That's where I'm gonna keep this. There's nothing much more to mention here, but glad to have this back. Let's see how this goes. When this is done, I'm gonna upload the CSV and then we'll look at it. We'll study the results because I think that's very important too, to study the results. So that's what this type of stuff we're gonna be doing in this channel is. Aside from looking at the picks, I will look at the picks on who I like, but more of like the macro, more of like the big picture. Because as far as like the individual picks, I think that's a little more volatile, and there's so much content out there where you guys can look at for the individual picks themselves. But we'll end it there. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.